What would you do if the person who destroyed your family's legacy suddenly became the one person you couldn't live without? She was fighting to save her father's dream. He was the man who unknowingly took it all away. But when a reckless bet brought their worlds together, neither of them could have predicted how it would change their lives forever. This is a story about redemption, forgiveness, and the unexpected power of love to heal even the deepest wounds. But can two people from such different worlds truly find a way to start over? Or will the secrets of the past tear them apart for good? The camera pans over the bustling streets of San Francisco, a city alive with energy and ambition. The scene transitions to a grand event hall where the most influential figures in the culinary world have gathered. The spotlight falls on Alexander Alex Chen, a 35-year-old billionaire and CEO of a global chain of luxury restaurants. Dressed impeccably in a tailored suit, Alex exudes confidence and power, his every move calculated and deliberate. The host of the event steps onto the stage, microphone in hand. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we honor the man who has redefined fine dining. Please welcome the king of the culinary world, Alexander Chen. The crowd erupts into applause as Alex strides onto the stage, his signature smirk firmly in place. He accepts the award with a short, polished speech, thanking his team and emphasizing his relentless pursuit of excellence. In this business, he declares, success isn't just about good food. It's about vision, strategy, and knowing how to dominate the competition. As the event continues, Alex mingles with other guests, his charm and wit on full display. He boasts about his latest acquisition, a small chain of bakeries that he plans to rebrand and integrate into his empire. It's all about efficiency, he tells a group of investors. These mom-and-pop shops can't keep up with the times. I'm just giving them a way out. Later that evening, Alex and his best friend and business partner, James Thompson, retreat to a private lounge. James, a sharp and slightly mischievous man in his late 30s, pours them both a glass of whiskey. "You know, Alex," James begins, leaning back in his chair, "you've got everything a man could want: money, power, success. But there's one thing I bet you can't do." Alex raises an eyebrow, intrigued. "Oh, and what's that?" James smirks. "You always go for the same type of woman. Beautiful, polished, and eager to please. I bet you can't handle someone who's completely different, someone who doesn't care about your money or your status." Alex chuckles, swirling his drink. "James, you know me better than that. I can handle anyone." "Right then," James says, his tone turning serious. "Let's make it interesting. I bet you $5 million that you can't marry someone outside your type and stay married for 6 months. Alex's eyes narrow, the challenge piquing his interest. "And who do you have in mind?" James pulls out his phone and shows Alex a photo of Sarah Mitchell, a 28-year-old bakery owner. The picture shows a woman with a round face, soft features, and a confident smile. She's not conventionally attractive by Alex's standards, and her curvier figure is a stark contrast to the women he's used to dating. "Her?" Alex asks, a hint of disbelief in his voice. "Yes," James replies. "She's the owner of a struggling bakery in the Mission District. She's smart, independent, and from what I've heard, she doesn't take crap from anyone. Perfect for you, right?" Alex leans back, considering the proposition. The idea of marrying someone so different from his usual type is both absurd and intriguing, but the thought of losing a bet and $5 million is even more unthinkable. "All right," Alex says finally, a sly grin spreading across his face. "You're on. But don't think for a second that I can't win this." James raises his glass in a toast. "To the most entertaining 6 months of your life." As they clink glasses, the camera lingers on Alex's confident expression, hinting at the challenges and surprises that lie ahead. The scene shifts to a small, cozy bakery in the heart of the Mission District. The sign above the door reads, "Mitchell's Bakery," and the smell of freshly baked bread wafts through the air. Inside, Sarah Mitchell is hard at work, her hands covered in flour as she kneads dough. Despite the financial struggles of her business, Sarah radiates a quiet strength and determination. She hums softly to herself, her focus unwavering. Unbeknownst to her, her life is about to take a dramatic turn. The scene opens with a view of Mitchell's Bakery, a quaint little shop nestled in the heart of the Mission District. The bakery is warm and inviting, with the smell of freshly baked bread and pastries wafting through the air. Inside, Sarah Mitchell is busy at work, her hands dusted with flour as she carefully decorates a batch of cupcakes. Despite the financial struggles of her business, Sarah's determination shines through. Her bakery is more than just a shop. It's her father's legacy, and she's determined to keep it alive. The bell above the door jingles, signaling a customer. Sarah looks up with her usual friendly smile, but her expression falters slightly when she sees Alexander Chen walk in. Dressed in a tailored suit and exuding an air of arrogance, Alex looks completely out of place in the cozy, down-to-earth bakery. "Good morning," Sarah greets him, her tone polite but cautious. "How can I help you?" Alex glances around the bakery, his sharp eyes taking in the modest decor and the handwritten menu on the chalkboard. He steps up to the counter, his expression unreadable. "I'll take a coffee, black, and whatever pastry you recommend." Sarah raises an eyebrow, sensing his condescending tone. "We don't serve coffee here," she replies, her voice steady. "This is a bakery, not a cafe, but I can recommend our cinnamon rolls. They're fresh out of the oven." Alex smirks, clearly amused by her straightforwardness. "Fine. One cinnamon roll, then." As Sarah prepares his order, Alex takes the opportunity to observe her more closely. She's not like the women he's used to. Her curvier figure and casual attire are a stark contrast to the polished, high-manner women he usually dates. But there's something about her confidence and the way she carries herself that intrigues him. When Sarah hands him the cinnamon roll, Alex takes a bite and nods approvingly. "Not bad," he says, though his tone lacks genuine praise. "You've got talent." "Thanks," Sarah replies dryly, clearly unimpressed by his half-hearted compliment. "But I'm guessing you didn't come all the way here just to try my baking." Alex chuckles, appreciating her sharp wit. "You're right. I came to talk business." Sarah crosses her arms, her friendly demeanor replaced by a guarded one. "Business? What kind of business?" Alex leans against the counter, his confidence unwavering. "I've heard about your bakery. Struggling to stay afloat, isn't it? I'm here to offer you a deal." Sarah's eyes narrow. "A deal? Let me guess you want to buy me out, just like you've done with every other small business in this neighborhood." Alex shrugs, unfazed by her accusation. "I'm offering you a way out. I can pay off your debts and give you enough money to start fresh somewhere else. All you have to do is sell me this place." Sarah's jaw tightens, and for a moment she's too stunned to respond. But then she straightens her shoulders, her voice firm. "This bakery isn't for sale. It's my father's legacy, and I'm not going to let someone like you take it away." Alex raises an eyebrow, clearly not used to being refused. "You're turning down a chance to get out of debt? That's bold." "It's not about the money," Sarah retorts. "This bakery means more to me than you could ever understand. So if you're here to make an offer, you're wasting your time." For the first time, Alex finds himself at a loss for words. He's used to people bending to his will, but Sarah's unwavering resolve catches him off guard. There's a fire in her eyes that he can't ignore, and it only makes him more determined to win her over. Later that evening, Alex meets with James Thompson at a high-end restaurant. James listens with amusement as Alex recounts his encounter with Sarah. "You turned you down?" James asks, barely able to hide his laughter. "That's a first." Alex scowls, clearly annoyed. "She's different. She's not like the others." James smirks, leaning back in his chair. "That's the point, Alex. You're not going to win this bet by throwing money at her. If you want to marry her, you're going to have to work for it. Alex takes a sip of his whiskey, his mind racing. He's never backed down from a challenge, and he's not about to start now. "Fine," he says finally. "If she won't sell, then I'll find another way to get close to her." James raises an eyebrow, intrigued. "And how do you plan to do that?" Alex's lips curl into a sly grin. "I'll make her an offer she can't refuse." The next day, Alex returns to the bakery, this time with a different approach. He waits until the shop is empty before stepping inside, his demeanor more composed. "Ms. Mitchell," he begins, his tone unusually sincere, "I owe you an apology for yesterday. I came off as arrogant." Sarah looks up from the counter, clearly skeptical. "You think?" Alex chuckles, holding up his hands in mock surrender. "Fair enough, but I'm here to make you a new offer, one that doesn't involve selling your bakery." Sarah crosses her arms, her expression wary. "I'm listening." Alex takes a deep breath, as if preparing himself for what he's about to say. "I want to help you save your bakery. I'll pay off your debts and give you the resources you need to keep this place running. In return, I want you to marry me." The room falls silent, and for a moment Sarah thinks she must have misheard him. "Excuse me," she says, her voice laced with disbelief. "You heard me," Alex replies, his tone steady. "It's a business arrangement. 6 months of marriage, and at the end of it you'll be free to go, no strings attached." Sarah stares at him, her mind racing. The idea is absurd, and yet the thought of losing her bakery is unbearable. She knows she can't trust Alex, but she also knows she's running out of options. "Well, me?" she asks finally. "Why not someone else?" Alex hesitates, caught off guard by the question. "Because you're different," he admits. "You're not like anyone I've ever met." Sarah studies him for a long moment, her instincts telling her to say no, but then she thinks of her father, of the legacy he left behind, and of the debts piling up around her. With a heavy sigh, she nods. "All right, I'll do it, but on one condition." Alex raises an eyebrow. "And what's that?" "You don't get to control me," Sarah says firmly. "This is my life, and I'm not going to let you take that away from me." Alex smirks, clearly impressed by her resolve. "Deal." As they shake hands, the camera lingers on their expressions. Sarah's filled with determination, and Alex's with intrigue. Neither of them realizes just how much their lives are about to change. The scene opens with Sarah standing in the middle of Alex's luxurious penthouse, her eyes scanning the sleek modern decor. The space is cold and impersonal, a stark contrast to the warmth of her cozy bakery. She sets her suitcase down and takes a deep breath, already feeling out of place. Alex walks in behind her, his hands in his pockets, watching her reaction with a faint smirk. "Welcome to your new home," he says, his tone casual. "I hope you'll find it comfortable." Sarah turns to face him, her expression unreadable. "It's nice," she replies, her voice neutral. "But don't expect me to change who I am just because I'm living here." Alex chuckles, clearly amused by her defiance. "I wouldn't dream of it," he says, though his tone suggests otherwise. "But you might find that a little change isn't such a bad thing." As the days go by, the differences between Alex and Sarah become glaringly obvious. Alex, used to a life of luxury and efficiency, tries to impose his lifestyle on Sarah. He hires a personal stylist to revamp her wardrobe, fills the fridge with expensive imported foods, and even arranges for a personal trainer to visit the penthouse. Sarah, however, refuses to conform. She rejects the designer clothes, preferring her comfortable jeans and aprons. She insists on cooking her own meals, using simple ingredients she's familiar with, and she flat out refuses to work with the personal trainer. One morning, Alex finds Sarah in the kitchen, kneading dough on the marble countertop. He raises an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed. "You know, we have a chef who can do that for you," he says, leaning against the doorway. Sarah doesn't look up. "I don't need a chef," she replies. "I like doing things myself. It's called being independent." Alex smirks, crossing his arms. Independent or stubborn? Sarah finally looks up, meeting his gaze with a sharp glare. "Call it whatever you want, but I'm not going to let you turn me into one of your polished, perfect little projects." For a moment, Alex is taken aback. He's not used to being challenged, especially not by someone like Sarah. But instead of arguing, he simply shrugs and walks away, leaving her to her baking. The tension between Alex and Sarah reaches a boiling point one evening when Alex invites her to a high-profile charity gala. He insists that she wear a designer gown he had custom-made for her, but Sarah refuses, opting instead for a simple dress she already owns. At the gala, Sarah feels out of place among the wealthy, glamorous guests. She overhears whispers and judgmental comments about her appearance, and for the first time, her confidence begins to waver. Alex, noticing her discomfort, tries to reassure her, but his words come off as patronizing. "You'll get used to it," he says, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Just smile and play along." Sarah pulls away, her voice sharp. "I'm not here to play along, Alex. I'm here because you dragged me into this." The argument escalates when Sarah accuses Alex of trying to control her, and Alex fires back, accusing her of being ungrateful. The night ends with Sarah storming out of the gala, leaving Alex standing alone, frustrated and confused. The next morning, Sarah receives devastating news. Her bakery has been vandalized. The windows are shattered, the equipment destroyed, and the walls covered in graffiti. Sarah is heartbroken, and as she stands in the wreckage of her beloved shop, she feels a wave of despair. Alex arrives shortly after, having heard about the incident. For the first time, he sees a side of Sarah he's never seen before, vulnerable, defeated, and on the verge of giving up. He offers to pay for the repairs, but Sarah shakes her head, her voice trembling. "This isn't just about the money," she says. "This bakery was my father's dream. It's all I have left of him. And now it's gone." Alex is silent, unsure of what to say. He's never had to deal with loss or failure on such a personal level, and he realizes that his usual tactics, throwing money at the problem, won't work this time. That night, Sarah sits alone in the penthouse, staring out at the city lights. She thinks about her father, about the legacy he left behind, and about the person she wants to become. She realizes that she's been holding herself back, afraid to change because she didn't want to lose the connection to her past. But now she understands that change doesn't mean forgetting. It means growing. The next morning, Sarah makes a decision. She's going to take control of her life, not for Alex, not for anyone else, but for herself. She starts by focusing on her health, not to fit into Alex's world, but to feel stronger and more confident in her own skin. She begins waking up early to go for runs along the waterfront, something she hasn't done in years. She starts experimenting with healthier recipes in the kitchen, creating pastries that are both delicious and nutritious. And slowly but surely, she begins to feel like a new version of herself, one that's stronger, more determined, and more self-assured. At first, Alex is skeptical of Sarah's transformation. He assumes it's just a phase, another one of her stubborn attempts to prove him wrong. But as he watches her push herself day after day, he begins to see her in a new light. One evening, Alex finds Sarah in the kitchen, covered in flour and surrounded by trays of freshly baked pastries. She's laughing to herself as she tries to perfect a new recipe, and for the first time, Alex feels a pang of admiration. "You're really serious about this, aren't you?" he asks, leaning against the counter. Sarah looks up, her smile unwavering. "I told you, Alex, I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for me." Alex nods, a small smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "Well, for what it's worth, I think you're doing great." It's a rare moment of sincerity from Alex, and Sarah can't help but feel a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, he's starting to change too. As Sarah continues her journey of self-improvement, the dynamic between her and Alex begins to shift. Alex starts to respect her independence and determination, and Sarah begins to see glimpses of vulnerability beneath his arrogant exterior. One evening, Alex surprises Sarah by joining her in the kitchen. He rolls up his sleeves and attempts to help her bake, though his lack of skill quickly becomes apparent. Sarah laughs as he fumbles with the dough, and for the first time they share a genuine moment of connection. "You're terrible at this," Sarah teases, handing him a rolling pin. Alex grins, unbothered by her teasing. "Well, I guess I'll just have to keep practicing." As they work side by side, the tension between them begins to fade, replaced by a growing sense of mutual respect and understanding. Neither of them says it out loud, but they both know that something is changing, something neither of them expected. The scene opens with Sarah sitting in the penthouse's living room, flipping through an old photo album she brought from her bakery. The pictures show her as a child, standing proudly next to her father in front of the bakery's original storefront. Her father's warm smile and the joy in her younger self's eyes remind her of why she has fought so hard to keep the bakery alive. She traces her fingers over the photos, lost in thought. Alex walks in, noticing the somber expression on her face. "What's that?" he asks, gesturing to the album. Sarah hesitates for a moment before handing it to him. "It's my father's bakery. He built it from the ground up. It was his dream." Alex flips through the pages, his usual confidence replaced by a rare moment of quiet reflection. "He must have been proud of you," he says softly. Sarah nods, her voice tinged with sadness. "He was, but he didn't live to see what it's become. He passed away a few years ago, after the bakery started struggling. The stress. It was too much for him." Alex looks up, guilt flickering in his eyes, though he quickly masks it. "I'm sorry to hear that," he says, his tone sincere. Sarah offers a small smile, but there's a hint of something deeper in her expression, something she's not ready to share just yet. A few days later, Sarah decides to visit her bakery to check on the repairs. Alex insists on accompanying her, though she's reluctant to let him see the damage. When they arrive, Sarah is greeted by her loyal staff, who have been working tirelessly to clean up the mess. The sight of their dedication brings tears to her eyes, and she thanks them for their support. As Alex surveys the bakery, he notices a framed newspaper article hanging on the wall. The headline reads, "Mitchell's Bakery faces closure amid corporate takeover." Beneath it is a photo of Sarah's father, standing in front of the bakery with a determined expression. Alex's heart sinks as he reads the article, realizing that his company's aggressive expansion strategy was directly responsible for the bakery's financial struggles. He remembers the deal vividly. It was a small acquisition, one of many he had approved without a second thought, but now, seeing the human cost of his actions, he feels a pang of regret. Sarah notices Alex staring at the article and walks over. "That's the day everything changed," she says quietly. "Your company bought out the suppliers we relied on, raised prices, and left us with no way to compete. My father tried to fight back, but it was too much for him. He had a heart attack a few months later." Alex turns to her, his expression filled with guilt. "Sarah, I didn't know. I didn't realize." Sarah's eyes flash with anger. "Of course you didn't. People like you don't think about the lives you destroy. You only care about profit." Alex opens his mouth to respond, but no words come out. For the first time, he's forced to confront the consequences of his actions, and it leaves him speechless. That evening back at the penthouse, the tension between Alex and Sarah reaches its breaking point. Sarah confronts him, her voice shaking with emotion. "Was this all just a game to you?" she demands. "The bet, the marriage, everything? Did you think you could just waltz into my life and fix everything with your money?" Alex runs a hand through his hair, clearly struggling to find the right words. "It wasn't supposed to be like this," he admits. "At first, yes, it was a bet, but then I started to care about you, about the bakery, about everything." Sarah shakes her head, tears streaming down her face. "You don't get to say that. You don't get to pretend you care after everything you've done." Alex steps closer, his voice desperate. I'm trying to make it right, Sarah. I know I can't undo the past, but I want to help. Please, let me help. Sarah looks at him, her heart torn between anger and the faintest glimmer of hope. If you really want to help, she says finally, then prove it. Show me that you've changed. Determined to make amends, Alex throws himself into helping Sarah rebuild her bakery. He uses his connections to secure new suppliers, negotiates better deals, and even sets up a fund to support other small businesses in the area. For the first time in his life, he's not motivated by profit or power. He's motivated by a genuine desire to do the right thing. Sarah watches his efforts with a mix of skepticism and admiration. She's not ready to forgive him completely, but she can't deny that he's trying. Slowly, her walls begin to come down, and she starts to see a different side of Alex, a side she never thought existed. One evening, as they work late at the bakery, Alex surprises Sarah with a gift. It's a framed photo of her father, restored from the damaged album. Sarah's breath catches in her throat as she takes the frame, her eyes filling with tears. I thought you might want this here, Alex says softly, to remind you of why you started. Sarah looks up at him, her voice barely above a whisper. Thank you. It's a small gesture, but it means the world to her. For the first time, she begins to believe that Alex might truly be capable of change. As the bakery reopens, the community comes out in full force to show their support. The grand reopening is a huge success, and Sarah is overwhelmed by the outpouring of love and encouragement. Alex stands by her side, watching as she greets customers and shares stories about her father. Later that night, as they sit together in the empty bakery, Alex turns to Sarah, his expression serious. I know I've made mistakes, he says, and I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I want you to know that I'm not the same person I was when we first met. You've changed me, Sarah. You've made me want to be better. Sarah looks at him, her heart full of conflicting emotions. She knows it won't be easy to move past everything that's happened, but she also knows that Alex has shown her a side of himself that she never expected to see. I don't know if I can forgive you, she admits, but I'm willing to try. Alex nods, a small smile playing on his lips. That's all I can ask for. As they sit together, the camera pans out, showing the bakery's warm glow against the night sky. It's a symbol of hope, resilience, and the possibility of a fresh start. The scene opens with Sarah standing in front of her bakery, now fully restored and bustling with customers. The sign above the door, Mitchell's Bakery, gleams in the sunlight, a testament to her hard work and resilience. Inside, the smell of freshly baked bread and pastries fills the air, and the sound of laughter and conversation creates a warm, inviting atmosphere. Sarah moves through the shop, greeting customers and checking on her staff, her confidence shining brighter than ever. Alex walks in, dressed more casually than usual, carrying a bouquet of flowers. He watches Sarah from a distance, a small smile on his face. She notices him and walks over, her expression a mix of surprise and curiosity. What are you doing here? She asks, though her tone is softer than before. Alex holds out the flowers, his voice sincere. I wanted to congratulate you. The bakery looks amazing. Sarah takes the flowers, a faint smile tugging at her lips. Thank you, but you didn't have to come all the way here for that. Alex hesitates for a moment before speaking. I wanted to see you, and I wanted to talk. Later that evening, after the bakery has closed, Alex and Sarah sit together at one of the small tables. The atmosphere is quiet and intimate, the only light coming from the soft glow of the bakery's interior. I've been thinking a lot about us, Alex begins, his voice steady but filled with emotion. About everything that's happened, and I know I've made mistakes more than I can count. But being with you has changed me, Sarah. You've shown me what it means to care about something bigger than myself. Sarah listens quietly, her expression unreadable. Alex takes a deep breath and continues. I don't want this to end, he says. Not the bakery, not us. I know I don't deserve a second chance, but I'm asking for one anyway. Will you marry me this time for real?" He pulls out a small box and opens it, revealing a simple but elegant engagement ring. Sarah stares at it, her heart racing. She thinks about everything they've been through, the lies, the betrayal, the pain, but also the growth, the redemption, and the moments of genuine connection. After a long pause, she looks up at Alex, her eyes filled with both tears and determination. "If I say yes," she says, her voice steady, "it's not because I've forgotten what you did. It's because I believe in the person you're trying to become." Alex nods, his own eyes glistening. "That's all I could ever hope for." Sarah takes the ring, and Alex slips it onto her finger. For the first time, they both feel a sense of peace, as if they're finally on the same page. The story fast forwards to a few months later. Alex and Sarah are now partners in every sense of the word. Alex has stepped back from his corporate empire, choosing instead to focus on supporting small businesses and giving back to the community. He set up a foundation in Sarah's father's name, dedicated to helping struggling bakeries and other family-owned businesses. Sarah, meanwhile, has expanded her bakery, opening a second location in a nearby neighborhood. She's also become a vocal advocate for self-love and body positivity, using her platform to inspire others to embrace who they are. The couple's relationship has grown stronger, built on mutual respect and understanding. They've learned to navigate their differences, finding a balance between Alex's ambitious nature and Sarah's grounded, independent spirit. The final scene takes place at their wedding, held in the garden behind Sarah's bakery. The setting is simple and intimate, with close friends and family gathered to celebrate. The decorations are handmade, reflecting Sarah's personal touch, and the menu features her signature pastries alongside Alex's favorite dishes. As Sarah walks down the aisle, wearing a dress that perfectly blends elegance and comfort, Alex watches her with a look of pure admiration. For the first time, he feels truly content, knowing that he's found someone who challenges him, inspires him, and makes him want to be better. When they exchange vows, their words are heartfelt and honest. Alex promises to always support Sarah's dreams and to never take her or their love for granted. Sarah, in turn, promises to trust Alex and to believe in the man he's become. As they share their first kiss as husband and wife, the guests erupt into cheers, and the camera pans out to show the bakery in the background, its sign glowing softly in the evening light. It's a symbol of their journey of loss, growth, and the power of second chances. The epilogue shows Alex and Sarah a year later, sitting in the bakery with their newborn daughter. Sarah holds the baby in her arms while Alex leans over, making silly faces to make her giggle. The bakery is busier than ever, with customers lining up outside, but for now, the couple is focused on their little family. As the camera zooms out, the scene fades to black, leaving the audience with a sense of hope and fulfillment. The story ends with a simple message. Love isn't about perfection. It's about growth, forgiveness, and finding someone who makes you want to be your best self.